going hungry. They are worried about the fact that 15,000 children are experiencing homelessness. Working class people are worried about the air pollution in this valley. Working class people are worried about the Great Salt Lake drying up. Where is the legislation to address these real problems we are facing? While Republicans continue their onslaught against the exploited and oppressed across the country, I also want to specifically address what Democrats have also failed to do. At the national level, Democrats have been scarcely better at champions of LGBTQ rights. Biden pledged to pass the Equality Act in his first 100 days of office, which would ban discrimination against LGBTQ people across wide swaths of U.S. public life. Then it's 3 years later, and it has yet to even come to a vote in Senate. Meanwhile, last year, Biden's own education department made anti-trans changes to Title IX, which mandates gender equality in sports programs. LGBTQ people denounce these changes as a roadmap for bigots to discriminate against them. I also want to address the important connection of these anti-trans attacks to the struggle happening in Palestine. Utah politicians cannot address these economic crises here because they are using our tax-paying dollars here in Utah to strengthen the Zionist colonial apartheid state. Meanwhile, the Israeli occupation forces dare to wave our pride flag over the bodies of dead Palestinian men, women, and children. There is no pride in genocide. Utah makes almost $32 million in trade and diplomatic ties with Israel. So it's no surprise that these wealthy politicians who are inflaming white supremacy and patriarchal violence across the globe are passing racist, sexist, and bigoted laws here at home. Queer trans people, women, black and brown working class people here in Utah and across the country are unabashed defenders of the Palestinian people. We will not let people confuse rainbow imperialism with the real grassroots struggles our pride flag truly defends. While Utah politicians try to sow animosity and division between working class people, it is queer trans people, women, black and brown working class Utahns that are organizing the struggles around healthcare, education, housing, reproductive justice, black liberation, and organizing struggles against the U.S. war machine. Today's action is part of a broader, united movement against these attacks on our democratic rights. History has shown us that these rights can be won, but it's clear that they can also be taken away. So if that's the reality under this capitalist system, then I think we need to fight for a new system. I didn't give a formal introduction earlier, but I just want to say my name is Deja Gaston. I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And I don't know if y'all knew, but socialism is on the ballot in Utah for the presidential election. We're running two working class Latina women, Claudia de la Cruz and Karina Garcia. But not just because we want your vote, we want y'all to join us in building the independent working class movement of millions. There's millions of us fighting for a new system, and we're fighting for a new system rooted in the liberation of LGBTQ plus working class women, black and brown people. And we're going to continue to mobilize, and we're going to organize. And when we fight, we win.
Yeah, that is pop off. Next up, we have Gabi with Mecha de UMU. And I need everyone to make some noise for Mecha, okay? Because these very institutions and systems that we talk about are I shouldn't swear, have been giving, have been oppressing them, suppressing them at the University of Utah from speaking out, from mobilizing against genocide. So make some noise for Mecha de U of U.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriela, she, her, ella pronouns, and I'm a queer, brown, disabled woman and socialist organizer with Mecha de U of U. Just this morning, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a video of a Palestinian girl and her eyes were completely black. She described how Zionists drove over her family with a tank, killing her father and siblings. Let me reiterate, they literally drove over her family and crushed them with a tank that was funded by our taxpayer dollars. We are now over 100 days into the genocide, and our lawmakers refuse to call for an end to the siege on Gaza. Instead, they continue to wage their war against the working class, against brown and black students, and against queer and trans bodies. They use our tax dollars to enact violence on us and on the people of the global south every single day. We are all here today because we refuse to be complicit in this war against trans people. But we also need to understand how the same capitalist and colonial systems that are oppressing trans people are oppressing Palestinians, are oppressing black and brown students, are oppressing disabled people, are oppressing the working class, and we cannot keep relying on them for justice. It was only a few months ago that Mecha organized against an anti-trans fascist event on campus. And the university responded by criminally charging us, primarily brown and trans students. When we accused them of transphobia and racism, they shot back and basically told us this is what we get for being disruptive and making them uncomfortable. They constructed us as criminals who pose a threat to campus culture and free speech. The language of criminality is also being mobilized against trans people to enact violence on them. The government constructs trans people as predators or sexually deviant so they can justify stripping them of their dignity and their most basic needs. The government and the university both serve to maintain the U.S. colonial empire and enforce its rule through violence. So how can we justify continuing to relying on these institutions? We must recognize that liberation will not come from appealing to our oppressors. It will not come from reform. Reforming violence is still violence. So where do we go from here? Because no matter how many times we call our representatives or speak at Senate hearings or rally at the Capitol, we will not convince them that we are worthy and deserve dignified lives. We will not. And I do not intend to sit here and wait as they debate my existence and the existence of my loved ones. I'll tell you what we can do. We can take all the energy we put into these violent systems and put them into each other. We need to build working class political power led by those at the furthest margins of society. We need an anti-capitalist, anti-colonial revolution that will abolish these systems of violence and oppression for all oppressed peoples of the world and put in their place systems that are led by and for the workers and the most marginalized. This can only be realized if we seriously commit ourselves to organizing in our communities and lead with a love for transvestite action revolutionaries led by Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. We want a revolutionary people's government where transvestites, street people, women, homosexuals, Puerto Ricans, Indians, and all oppressed people are free and not fucked over by this government who treat us like the scum of the earth and kills us off like flies one by one and throws us into jail to rot. This government who spends millions of dollars to go to the moon and lets the poor Americans starve to death. Power to the people! When I say people, you say power! People! 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 Thank you.
When I say trans, you say trans, 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 trans. When trans people are under attack, what do we do? When trans people are under attack, what do we do?
Fight back!
What do we do? What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Period. All right, next up, I'm gonna invite Ermia with Armed Queers, Salt Lake City. Make some noise for Ermia.
Hello. My name is Ermia Fanayan, and I am an organizer with Armed Queers, Salt Lake City. We are an organization dedicated to the defense of oppressed people and the struggle for trans liberation. And today, we stand against HB 257. We stand against HB 11. We stand against HB 261, and we stand against the rise in anti-trans fascism polluting this nation. The struggle for trans liberation is one that started in the streets and grew as a rebellion against the systems in power that kept us under their thumbs. Indeed, we are struggling for freedom, not a couple of rights that we have to beg them for. We as trans and gender non-conforming people are fed up with begging. Now is the time for us to mobilize, to agitate, and to take our struggle back into the streets. When I say bigots take a hike, you say now's the time for queers to strike. Bigots, bigots, take a hike.
Now's the time to strike!
Bigots, bigots, take a hike.
Now's the time to strike!
Bigots, bigots, take a hike.
Now's the time for queers to strike!
As they legislate our right to access basic public life away, the revolutionary fervor of trans people continues without compromise. We honor our radical roots from the era of Stonewall to the Compton cafeteria riots. The legacy of trans revolutionaries who came before us has built the groundwork for today's movement for trans power. Our ancestors were not stopped by the state. They were not stopped when cops brutalized them on a daily basis. They were not stopped when thrown into jail under anti-drag laws. And indeed, today, we will not be stopped by hysterical bathroom bills. When I say trans, you say power. Trans! 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 Trans!
Power!
The struggle for trans liberation is far, far from over. We witnessed this when over 15,000 people marched for Black trans lives in the streets of New York City. We witnessed this when protesters in Kentucky put their lives on the line and faced arrest to stand against anti-trans bills. We witnessed this when a mass campaign took place to call for the freedom of CC McDonald. And we witnessed this right here in Utah when high school and middle school students all over the state organized mass walkouts in defense of their trans peers. Make some noise for the students of East High, West High, Clinton Middle School, and people all over the world have spoken, and they are with the trans movement. They are with trans power. When I say trans liberation means, you say act up, fight back. Trans liberation means act up, fight back. Trans liberation means act up, fight back. Trans liberation means
Act up, fight back!
trans, cis, straight, gay. We are fighting united every single day. Look around you. It is clear that the energy is alive and well for the fight for trans rights. Kara Birkeland, Governor Cox, and the entire Utah State Legislature, you remain a pain in the back of humanity. And never again will we look back to you for any ounce of moral consciousness. Where were they when Roe v. Wade was under attack? Where are they when schools are being shut down all over the state? Where are they when people across the state are without health care? Where are they when our lake continues to dry up by the day? Not only are they nowhere to be found, they are also the very cause behind these problems. But somehow they expect us to believe trans people are the problem. Sorry, we are deeply, deeply unconvinced.